So today, SQL Server on Linux. Yeah, I'm using a Microsoft product on my beloved Linux. Motherfucker! So every now and then you need a Microsoft SQL database. I don't really hate Microsoft SQL database, I hate Microsoft, but SQL Server is actually pretty decent. It stemmed in the past from Sybase, and somewhere in the early 90s Sybase and Microsoft just branched off from each other. Like every organization ever that worked with Microsoft. It happened with IBM, it happened with Apple, it happened with Sybase. So what is the common denominator? I think it's Microsoft. Yeah, but it is actually a decent server. I just happen to prefer Postgres because it's free and open source. But I got this backup file, that has every movie ever created with a little description in there. And that is a SQL database. So I need to put it in there, and I probably end up actually exporting it to Postgres because I already have a Postgres running, also in a Docker container. But yeah, so let's jump in and install SQL Server in a Docker container on Arch, on an Arch-based Linux system. So I'm in need of a SQL Server. Now I don't have a Windows server anywhere, I only run Linux. But SQL Server also runs on Linux ever since 2017. The only issue is that it runs on Ubuntu, and this here is Gradura, which I'm test driving and I actually kind of like, because you get all these little customizations that you can do, so yeah. But that's Arch based. But there is also a Docker image, and it's always good to have these big applications containerized. That way your maintenance is so much easier. Your migrations are so much easier. So I'm actually going to create a SQL Server instance here using Docker. So I already created a SQL Server. This is where I will put my Docker compose file. So we first do the compose YAML services, right, and we call this SQL Server, and the image that we need comes from Microsoft mcrmicrosoft.com/MSSQL/server. I've got it written down here, don't think that I actually remember this completely. mcrmicrosoft.com, yeah, that looks good. Then we have the container name, SQL Server. And the reason is that I need a SQL Server is I got this database backup that actually has every movie ever created in it. So I'm actually interested to have a look at that. Ports, we need to map the Docker port 1433 to the outside 1433 so we can connect to SQL. Environment, and we have two environment variables. I don't know why it always indents here, it shouldn't. And then it does this. There's a little bug in Z software these days. So we first need to set the SA password because it needs that during the installation to create the tables, etc. I'm going to pass that in via a variable. I do not want, as I see many people do, and this is a very, very bad practice, especially with something as an SA password, to create an environment and I say, the password is blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. Pass the password dynamically, and we're going to create it here in a key vault. This is a test key vault that I created. We're going to create a little secret here that we one time use to actually set up this database. And we need to accept the EULA. Everybody says yes, but nobody reads it. And if you do, then you know you sell your soul over to Microsoft. In this case, we have plausible deniability because I'm going to run my Docker container detached, so I never see this. So I could say, call your lawyers. It wasn't visible. Volumes. Now I want to have this on a volume. Databases should always be on an external volume, a Docker volume. Because when you then delete your database instance, you still have your data. And I call the volume SQL DB1. I only have one database. And it needs to be mounted to far-opt MSSQL. This is something I got from the documentation. And then we need volumes to actually create that volume. And now it does that. Come on, people. How hard is it to actually write an IntelliSense that works? SQL DB1. All right. Yeah, that's happy. Let's now create a run SQL script, which we can reuse, because then we can pass in the parameters for the secret name and the key vault name. It's always good to have reusable software. Bin bash, and we will create a run.sh that contains those two variables, so we can always start and stop it easily, or start it easily. Right, this is important. You need to have Azure CLI installed. I already have Azure CLI installed, otherwise you don't have your Azure commands. So AZ login, and this is something I'm doing here to protect myself and for ease of use. If you run Azure login and the account that you authenticate, it will show the subscription, and it's your subscription ID, and you need to press one enter or just enter. I'm lazy, I don't want that extra enter, and secondly, I don't want you to see my subscription number, so hence I echo it out. So this will just do the one enter automatically for me. If you have multiple subscriptions under that user account, obviously you do not use this, then you want that selection ability. Alright, so now we're going to fetch the password in this variable called password by calling az key vault secret show, and we need to get the name $1 that we're going to pass in our run shell script. The vault name, that's $2 argument. We query the value, and we need it output as a tab separated file. That way bash is happy. And then we can just pass in the environment variable as a password with password, and we have it never ever written down anywhere else than in the secure key vault. Up, and we detach from the Docker compose. Yep, that should be fine. And now we will create the run shell. Bin bash. This is something I need to do explicitly for Gradura. My default browser is set to Brave, but for some reason whenever I'm in a command shell and it pops up a browser, it will always use its FireDragon. And FireDragon has an issue with authenticating with Azure. Sometimes it takes forever and it doesn't get through. So hence I explicitly force it again to Brave. And then we do the start SQL.shell, and let's call this SA account DB1 that we're now going to create. And I had to check what my test key vault name is. Alright, so we're going to create this. Let me copy it, then I'm sure that I don't make any errors. Control C, Control V, and I'm just going to shift and unshift and just tap the keyboard randomly. That way I don't even know what that password is. I can always check, but I rather not know. We're going to copy it in a moment to actually connect the first time, and then I can create users that just use their user accounts. You should not use your SA account other than in a disaster. And then it's great to have it in a key vault, nice and secured. I think this should be good.
Hello Dr. Falcon, shall we play a game?
Yes, please. SQL Server. I'm going to change mod to 755, star.sh, sudo change owner root for sh. Alright, that way even I cannot be tempted to actually do something like this. Echo $password, because then I even get the permission denied. It's just an extra obstacle. Good to have those. Alright, let's see what happens if I made any typos. Start SQL, no such file. Oh, run SQL. Now now the joke is on me because I need to use this. It is not start SQL, it's run SQL. Okay, we get the authentication. That looks good. It created the volume, it created the server. I already had the image. So docker ps. Yep. The image, if it downloads, is about 600 megabytes. But 1433, that looks good. So let's see if we can connect with the beaver. I want to connect with the beaver. Ooh, nice beaver. I just had it stuffed. All right, I'm just going to copy it. I don't know what it is. This is kind of weird. Sometimes I need to flick left and right in order to create a connection. Software these days. Imagine that you can actually write software that works. That you actually tested all these combinations. Right, so localhost, that's correct. Master, currently, yes. And then finish. Now, usually the first time when you connect this and you have not downloaded the driver yet, you will get a model pop up saying, can I force to download the driver? You do that. Because there is no Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio for Linux. But the beaver is as close as it gets. So yeah, that looks good. Right, it works. So I can create a database. Here, I already typed it. Create database. No connection. Do I need to connect it again? Because I rehearse these videos. Create database, movies. Otherwise, you sit around me tripping over my words. Right, so yeah, that's the Netherlands, the crime capital of Western Europe. Especially here, people killed left and right these days. I'm pressing F5, it doesn't update it. And you do this, refresh, then it updates it. Come on, people, write software that works. If F5 is a refresh, then frickin' F5 it. Yeah, so this is working, it's perfectly fine. To safely stop it, of course, you do a docker compose down. And it will flush the database nicely and safely. So yeah, this is working as a charm. So I can put in all those movies. I'm really curious to see what is in there. So there you have it. I have a Microsoft product running in my house. Okay, I had an Xbox, or I have an Xbox, so I technically have two Microsoft products running in my house. I feel dirty. But there you go. It's as simple as that. Docker is brilliant. And especially these big applications, you should manage them in containers. Don't go installing stuff individually on your VMs or on your service. That's not the way to do it anymore. Just create a Docker image. That way it's easy when you need to move them or migrate them. It brings so many benefits compared to just installing it on bare metal or VMs. I hope you learned something and see you in the next one. I hope that by then the Ultimate 64 version 2 is in. I am on the list on number 256, I believe, or 286. So I hope it's there then. So see you then.